Welcome to Great Talking Entertainment. I am your host, KJ, and this is the podcast where I review movies and TV shows from all your favorite superheroes, including Marvel Comics, DC Comics, and much more. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Great Talking Entertainment official channel. Now let's go, baby. Hello and welcome back to the podcast / YouTube channel, Great Talking Entertainment official channel. This is my spoiler review for the new Marvel Studios in theaters right now, Deadpool and Wolverine. This is the spoiler review. If you have not seen this, pause this because you're crazy being on here. Give me a thumbs up because that would help. And go watch out my non-spoiler review if you're still not sure if you should go out to the movie theaters and see Deadpool and Wolverine. This is a spoiler review for the people who have seen this, where I will break down the entire film and talk about the Easter eggs, the reference, the beginning of the movie to the ending of the movie, and the post-credit scenes. And I'm talking about all the cameos and all the reference that Ryan Reynolds, a.k.a. Deadpool, has mentioned and all that good stuff. So, y'all been warned. Again, if you really have not seen this film, go watch my non-spoiler review because I got you. Let me be the one to convince you to check out Deadpool and Wolverine. So, again, y'all been warned. This is a spoiler review. Let's get into it. This film starts off just like how Deadpool 1 and 2 starts off. Deadpool's in a situation, and he explains what his current situation is, which he explains why he is saving his universe / sacred timeline. Then he explains his what. What he's looking for is a variant of Wolverine / Logan, and where he has to go all over the multiverse and look, and then he has to go back to where the TVA is for his universe, which is Earth 10005. This film has confirmed that the Deadpool films and Logan, the movie Logan from 2017, I believe, shares the same universe. And I'm not really exactly sure if the X-Men movies do. I would guess yes, like the ones with like Halle Berry, not like First Class, but then I think they may be in the same universe. So I'm not sure. Because it's a little fuzzy with their timeline to me. I know you can just Google it or go on Reddit and somebody has it pretty accurate to what the X-Men timeline / Deadpool and Logan films fit in that X-Men universe. But from this, it just shows it that they share the same universe. And then he explains, again, he has to go to the TVA to save his universe. And he gives this Wolverine a chance to fix his universe. And that's what we think in the first scene. We get Deadpool narrating and through the first act of this scene. And he's just explaining, and we get a lot of jokes that were hilarious. I was laughing a lot. It was funny throughout the whole film. And he even makes jokes about Disney buying Fox. And he also jokes about protecting the work of the 2017 film Logan. And he goes, no, by disrespecting it. You know, it's always been told when like they announced they were doing this film that they were gonna leave Logan alone. Like they're just gonna keep that away so they don't mess up its legacy of all the hard work that Hugh Jackman put in of playing Wolverine throughout the years. And he says in this film, basically, no, we're gonna disrespect it, and he violates it. And then he digs up, and he kept saying like Wolverine don't die, he regenerates. And then he sees a skeleton that's literally made out of I know I'm just gonna say it wrong, adamantium, right? And he says funny things like there's 206 bones, there's 207 if he watches Gilmore Girls, because that's where Ryan Reynolds' wife once played in the Gilmore Girls. I forget what season, but she was in it. And then that's when we see the TVA and they kick off in a fight. And this is the part where he's done narrating, but then he shows what's going on in that current situation. And the song Bye 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 by NSYNC plays, and we get this funny, goofy battle scene with a lot of blood. And then we see Deadpool doing the whole dance choreography from the song Bye 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 in the music video. And obviously, it's not all him. It's probably a professional dancer that's dressed up for it. But, that was pretty cool, and I loved it. And just like Deadpool 1 and 2, they start off, too, with, like, the name of the production, the name of the director, the star of the actor or actress, right? And they start out with the funny names, and then they actually have given credit to the actual people who took on this film. So again, they had that too within this. So they just like any Deadpool 1 and 2, it starts you off with a lot of excitement, a lot of action, and a lot of killing. Like he murdered the TVA, and they had scenes where one of the TVA guys told Deadpool, the only thing, or no, he said something about, I forgot how he said it, but he pretty much disrespected him in Canada. And then, obviously Deadpool, like, took him out, stabbed him, whatever. But that's the funny stuff you see. And then the multiverse story begins, because just like how Deadpool starts, they pause it, and then Deadpool narrates it and takes you back. And we get this whole flashback of how it all began. And I believe this also, before I continue, this is the 6th Marvel project as a film or show altogether. Should be the 6th one that tells a multiverse story. And here's why. Because, as again, they take it all the way to the beginning. The TVA is watching Deadpool, because it does acknowledge that in Deadpool 2 that Deadpool did take a time traveling or multiverse traveling device from Cable from Deadpool 2. And he's been going to different places, and we notice is that he's going through as Peter in this film, not Peter Parker, but a guy named Peter from Deadpool 2. He, pretty much says, Deadpool, is Deadpool having a midlife crisis? But he's really just trying to find a way to fit in, and he's also just trying to figure out what's next. And it seems like he's failed at being a Avengers, because we see him go back in Earth 616, and they even had a time stamp date. So it was March of 2018. Don't know what that day is, but that pretty means that he was trying to enjoy the Avengers, and that would say, pretty much, just to make it simple, it happened before Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame. And so Tony Stark was still alive, Iron Man, and we see a lot of Easter eggs. Like, for one, we see a photo of Iron Man and Spider-Man, but Spider-Man's face is covered up by the toy helmet, Iron Man helmet from the first Iron Man. And the reason why they did this is because they didn't, either Sony said no because the actor Tom Holland plays Spider-Man and Sony owns Spider-Man and the Spider-Man property. So either they said no, or they didn't want to pay Sony X amount of money for one scene for X amount of seconds or whatever, and they didn't want to deal with it. So, but they knew that they made sure you know that that was the photo from Avengers Endgame. We also see the Captain America shield prototype in the office, and we see the Iron Man's Mark suit, one of his second suit from Iron Man 2. It's in the briefcase. I forget the name of that suit, so I apologize, but it's the one that looked like a briefcase and it turns to Iron Man suit. So I saw that, and there was some fun small items. I don't know the name of the items, but they're from the first Iron Man film, or maybe second, one or two, probably second. And so this definitely was showing that Deadpool, some way, somehow, in Deadpool 2, because if you remember, Deadpool 2 came out either before Avengers Infinity War or after Infinity War. I believe that. I don't think it came out. I think it came out before Avengers Endgame. I know that for sure. Then we get to where Deadpool goes back to his timeline, his universe slash Earth, and he's working at a car sale, and he staples a toupee on his head, and I guess he's not good at selling cars, and he makes fun of Hondas and Kias and other car names within this film, just being funny about it. And then we notice that when him and his friend Peter are heading back to his apartment because it was actually Deadpool's birthday, we see a TVA in disguise as a construction worker. But Deadpool notices it because obviously he's in a merc with a mouth, and he gets paid to beat up people and assassinate them. So he knows when he's being spied on. But he just kind of ignored it and went back. And then we had his birthday party, and we see the familiar faces. We see Vanessa. We see his blind roommate. We see it all, right? And then as soon as after he blows out the candle, he gets a knock. And then there's the scene when the TVA is in front of his apartment door. And it's from the first trailer, or teaser trailer, I believe, too. Either one of them. But he's like, he thinks they're, stripper dancers, male strip dancers, right? Chippendale style, right? Then we hear all the dirty jokes that he says. I'm just not going to say just because of the sake of YouTube rules, but he does say some dirty, inappropriate jokes. And if you've seen it, obviously you know what I'm talking about. And, he gets captured by the TVA, and then after that, he gets offered by a TVA, Mr. Paradox, and he offers him to be in the MCU. And Mr. Paradox tells him that he can be an Avenger. He will feel like he has purpose. And of course, he gets so excited that he doesn't even let Mr. Paradox finish everything. He just jumps the gun and says yes. And then he gets his upgraded suit, which is pretty much, it's the Deadpool suit, but just a bright red. Because in the Deadpool 1 and 2, it was kind of a dark red. This one was a more bright red. And not saying like it's like colorful, kiddish looking, like it's just a bright red. I think that's just them trying to have their own unique version of the Deadpool suit in the MCU, and this is how they would have done it, basically. And obviously, it still has the same fabric and patterns to the Deadpool suits in 1 and 2. So, they weren't, ignoring it. They're also just trying to show you guys, like, look, it's the same suit from Deadpool 1 and 2. We just adjusted a little bit, but it pays homage to those particular suits. So I loved it. I thought it was cool. That was the cool part. And of course, there's some, I can't say on YouTube just in case, but there were some inappropriate sexual jokes, and you see hand gestures on Deadpool's body. So you get that, and he even makes pedophile jokes. So you get all that. But then Mr. Paradox tells him that hey, your friends can't come with you because Deadpool did thought he can bring all his loved ones with him. They're like, no, they got to stay because his universe is dying. It's about to be vaporized. And the reason why is Wolverine slash Logan is the anchor to that universe. And they explain that an anchor, if your anchor dies in some way, then your universe goes away. And I feel like we're going to hear that word more often in future Marvel Studio projects, whether it's in film and TV shows. So, yeah, now. And Mr. Paradox tells them, too, that, there's no way to fix this. You only have like 72 hours. So, what does Deadpool do? He punches Mr. Paradox in the face, takes the device that the TVA used to transport to universe, place to place, spot to spot, and he's looking for Wolverine. And we see different variants of Wolverines. We see the accurate size of height of Wolverine, which he's actually short. He's a small guy in comic books. But in real life, he's tall because Hugh Jackman's a tall man. We see the 80s version of Wolverine. There's a time where Wolverine only had one hand, one claw, and then he had a metal plate or a cover-up around his missing hand. And I don't know much about that. I knew that was a thing at one point in comic books, but I'm not really 100% sure where that actually started. And then we see Wolverine on a cross, on the X cross, which is a comic book reference where Wolverine got crucified. We see a comic book accurate to Old Man Logan universe. I didn't think we'd see that, but and he shot, and all these Wolverines have whooped his ass, shot him, stabbed him, whatever. And then we see Wolverine with the classic brown and orange. I think brown and orange, or just brown and yellow, but I know it's brown. And we see him getting ready to fight the Hulk, which is a comic book reference to Wolverine battling the Hulk, an older comic book. Don't know the name of it, but even did the pose to the comic book where all you see is the Incredible Hulk's reflection on Wolverine's claw. And of course, the Hulk punches Deadpool right into a tree just to get him out of the way. And before he said that, he was telling that he was Marvel Jesus, because throughout this film he's telling everybody that he's Marvel Jesus. And he made poke fun of Dwayne The Rock Johnson by saying that same way in the same tone like Dwayne The Rock Johnson said about when he introduced the live action to Black Adam and he was going to change the DCU universe. So he kind of poked fun of The Rock for that. And then he goes to another universe where we see Henry Cavill as Wolverine. And of course, Deadpool makes fun of the DC Comics, DC Universe, and WB for the Zack Snyders and the Justice League and the Superman and the Man of Steel, all that. And he tells them that they would do him completely better. But we only see him for a split second, and that Wolverine kicks him out. And then he finally comes to the Wolverine who has failed his universe, who has failed to save the X-Men, save the mutant race. And he's drunk, and of course, this is the time where Deadpool and Wolverine meet for the first time. Well, not the first time. X-Men Origin, I forgot everybody. But this is the first time we see the way Ryan Reynolds wanted to play Deadpool meet Wolverine for the first time, basically. This is this is also the first time Wolverine and Deadpool meet in the MCU. So there is a technicality of first time, but yes, they met the first time in X-Men. Did not want a mistake. We see the bickering, but then he finally takes the drunk Wolverine back to the TVA in the classic Wolverine suit. And it's still not going to work. Mr. Paradox explains that you can't replace an anchor with another anchor. Just because it's a variant, that's not the same Wolverine for that particular universe, so it won't work. And then they get both sent to the Void. Now, the Void of this version, so in Loki season 1, when we got first introduced to the Void, it looked like a post apocalypse. But the difference between this one and the Deadpool and Wolverine Void, the Void in that with this TVA, to me personally, the Loki one didn't feel like a Mad Max. This felt like a mushed up universe that just had random things. This one, and even Deadpool made a joke that it felt like a Mad Max parody. And even Deadpool made a joke about it that it looks like it, but there's an IP copyright issue basically. And then that's where we start seeing the first round of an epic battle between Wolverine and Deadpool. And this one was more just for the fans. This one was for the excitement. This was for like, oh my gosh, like this is the first time we're gonna see these two battle each other. And they did all the cool fighting and shooting and trash talking, and it was awesome. It was very awesome. But then we see some familiar mutants, and of course, it's just like Mad Max. They got these weird vehicles, and then it's a Marvel edition. So you saw like the Fantastic Four vehicle. You saw Agents of Shield's spaceship from Winter Soldier, I believe, and I believe there was I thought it was the Guardian of the Galaxy ship, but I believe it's the ship from the third Thor movie. That's what I think that's the ship. It's orange. That's all I remember. I apologize, but then we see another battle between Sabretooth and Wolverine, and this one again, this fight was for the fans, the nerds, the comic book lovers. And Wolverine defeated Sabretooth by cutting off his head. But then we see Pyro, who turns on this machine. And at first I thought it was the machine from the Incredible Hulk starring Ed Norton. But this one was like a magnet. And this is where the first big cameo surprise. Chris Evans, who had me believing that he was Captain America. And Deadpool was so hyped up. He was excited as much as the fans were. But he said, flame on. Because in this scene, he was the Human Torch. Now, this is the Fantastic Four from the movie in 2005, I believe. And he still plays the same. And they treated him like he was never given the chance to mature even more. And so he was still in his immature way. He talked a lot of trash, but we see him fail. Like Pyro, took his absorbed his flames, and he fell. He got captured with Deadpool and Wolverine, and he was talking a lot of smack about the big bad villain, Cassandra Nova. And this is the first time we've seen her in a live action. And so she's the sister of Charles Xavier and the Juggernaut. She loves the Void. She calls it her home. She's crazy. And apparently she made a deal with the TVA to keep things in peace. But we learn later in this film that Mr. Paradox is out for himself. He's looking on his own because in this film, we know that he doesn't agree what happened in Loki season 2. He doesn't agree that they're doing things differently. He doesn't agree that we should just slowly watch it. He thinks we should just do what they did in season 1 of the TVA, which is just use like these bombs or whatever and just vaporize people, right? Vaporize the whole universe. And we've seen that in Loki season 1. So this indicates that not everybody in the TVA department agrees. Some want to live the old way, King the Conqueror way, he who remains the way. And so, at first, this kind of like opens up a season 3 for Loki, and I'll save it for later, but I do have a theory what I think they may go with the TVA if they're going to continue using them in the movies. But back to where it went. So, Cassandra, again, she's pretty much the evil version of Charles Xavier, like I was saying. And this one's a little bit darker. Apparently the TVA took her when she was a baby. And in a way it's kind of funny because her version's the darker version versus Sylvie from Loki. She was taken as a little girl, but Cassandra was taken as a baby, as an infant. So that's very different. So another thing when I noticed throughout this film, but I couldn't say in my non-spoiler review, but I can say it here. To me, this film is a parallel to Loki season 1 and a little bit of season 2 of Loki. And the reason why is, if you think about it, Cassandra is Sylvie. Sylvie was somewhat the villain that they were trying, or not the villain, but they were the person that was antagonizing them. There's the person that she was going to be taken and being arrested. Well, Cassandra is the opposite. She got arrested. She got taken away, but she wasn't trying to escape. Sylvie was trying to escape the void to go back to her world, her universe, back to, her home with Thor and stuff, right? But Cassandra, who's the sister of Charles Xavier, didn't. And it's funny, Loki met a variant version of himself. Deadpool met a lot of variants version of himself, but there's a lot of similarities to the story of the plot of these two films just because of the TVA relationship. But then I started watching again and I noticed that this is just an R-rated version of what they're trying to do, basically. And here's another example. She was staying in a dead giant Ant-Man. And this is like, they still have the body, the skeleton, wearing the suit, and it's a giant version. And they live in it. And she even mentions she killed a Doctor Strange that could be in the, maybe the Tobey Maguire, or maybe in this version of Wolverine's universe, because another thing that something about Wolverine, he always says, F the Avengers, or just, he doesn't really have nothing nice to say about them. Because in this film, he finds a way to say something nice about Deadpool. So that could be an open story that they could use later on, but who knows? But that's where I get the difference between them. And, they show Goliath, and he still looked like Goliath from Loki season 1. And he's there to obviously devour everyone. But my only question is this the same Goliath from Loki season 1? Can Goliath go to different TVA universes? I would say, personally, I would go that route, so I would say yes. But maybe not. I don't remember. And they weren't very clear on, like, with Goliath within Loki season 1 and season 2 or in this film. But I could be wrong. So let me know in the comments. Like, I'm not sure. But I believe this is the same Goliath from Loki. Even though Loki's in a different universe, which they made that very clear within this film. So, luckily, they avoid it. And Wolverine and Deadpool escape by riding a robotic leg of one of the Sentinels. And I'm sure we'll see those giants in the MCU real soon. As they're walking, they find a diner, and okay, so this film is really good at letting us know when it's going to be serious and when it's going to be funny. And this is where they're at this like abandoned mom and pop diner, which it kind of reminds me of the Incredible Hulk with Ed Norton, or it could be the other Hulk films too. But I'm not really sure. But it did remind me of that one of the diners from the Incredible Hulk movie. But this is where they get serious. We see Deadpool just sharing his emotions, and obviously when he wants to share his feelings, he has to make a joke out of it. We see Wolverine who's drinking his feelings away, basically. But in this moment, in a serious way, Deadpool explains that in his universe, he's Wolverine. He's the X-Men. He's the Wolverine. And he explains that he's nothing, but this Wolverine explains in his universe he's the worst. He has the worst legacy. And we learn that within this film when Cassandra has control of Wolverine. But he explains it about multiple times, or it's been explained multiple times, that a group of people, of non-mutants, just regular average Joes who are, soldiers or whatever, probably work for the government, some type of task force, I would assume, that attacked the X-Men mansion and wiped out all the mutants and X-Men, and Wolverine obviously was too drunk and he missed a call that was for help, and they all didn't make it. And he blames that on him, and it feels like his universe is mad at him for that, blames him for that. So, we see Deadpool trying to get some information out of him, and he promises. Now, remember, he made a promise to Wolverine that they can fix his universe, they can change his past. And that's the only reason why Wolverine's going along with Deadpool. And now they get out the way, and they keep walking, and then we see Dogpool and Nicepool. And Dogpool is the cutest dog in the world, and she was definitely my favorite part of this film, and I can't wait to see more of her. And Nicepool was Ryan Reynolds without the cancer face, and apparently he can't heal, so that was pretty bad for him, or regenerate. But he had, because this one he had long hair, and he didn't have cancer, and his face wasn't deformed from the experiment from Deadpool 1, so he didn't have those abilities, but he was still a good fighter, a good shooter, and of course, they would always make the funny jokes, so it got funny. They had the serious moment, and then when you meet Dogpool and Nicepool, that's where the comedy kicked in. But it was perfect. It was very well balanced with that, without these scenes, because after that, Nicepool gives them one of his vehicles, which is a Honda, and he makes fun of the Honda stuff, and it got a little political, but it was funny. But then it got back to serious, where Deadpool kind of slips up and says, if they can fix it. And Deadpool says he made an educational wish, and that's where the fight broke loose. And Hugh Jackman put on the best performance when it got serious, because man, he oh my gosh, he's like, you're just God's big joke, and the joke's on us because you're the one that can't die, but we can. We got to deal with it. And then that's where they fought. And this one wasn't for the fans, the nerds. This was them fighting because they're going through some stuff. Like, they're both pretty much looking to have a purpose in life, and they want to fit in, and they feel like the world doesn't want them. They feel like they moved on. They don't need them, for help. They just need the Avengers. And again, this is where you hear Wolverine say, F, F the Avengers, very much. And, they fight and then they pass out. And then that's where we see X-23, who drives her to their little hideout. And just like how Wolverine or Logan passed out in Logan, she drove the vehicle and got him out of harm's way and got him to a place that I think it was a vet too, but not healed up, but patched up from the stab wounds or shooting wounds, whatever it was. But so it was really cool to see that. But X-23, took him back to the lair, and what's funny? That lair had a statue of Wanda. So apparently there was a variant of Wanda that got trapped in the void. Or maybe that's Wanda, the Wanda from the MCU, and she found the way to get out of the void. I don't know. But they're teasing the fact that she might be one of the big bad villains for the next year's phase. But we'll talk about that later. Now we get to the surprises of the cameos. Now, let me just name them off. We had Blade, who was played by the one and only so far, Wesley Snipes. We had Jennifer Garner as Elektra and Channing Tatum as Gambit. The ones that the fans have been fan casting for years and years and years, and it finally came true. Let's go. And then we had Daphne King as X-23, and it has been confirmed by the actress herself that this is the X-23 in the movie Logan. And just to kind of clarify, like, this is an older version of her. And it has me wondering why the TVA sent her to the void. Like, what did she do to get there? Like, the TVA always has a reason to arrest you and zap you into the void, but I'm curious of what it may be. And the only thing in theory that I have that I would think of is just based off the movie Logan. I believe that maybe she tried a way to maybe bring him back to life. Maybe she found some dark magic or a dark source that may promised her. I'm not entirely sure, but I just wonder what it could have been. Or maybe the way that they made a new Wolverine in that lab, maybe she tried it. Also, I'll point out, too, that I understand that since she shares the same universe with Wolverine and Deadpool, that means literally her universe was going to go away, too, because Wolverine is the anchor of that timeline, that universe of Earth 10005. So I understand that, but I'm wondering of why she was sent to the void, because again, they could have left her there if her timeline of that universe was going to literally be evaporated, because in this film they had a giant like square bomb box that is an upgraded version of what they'd use in the Loki season 1 way to show how they get rid of a universe or a timeline. This is a bigger like mechanic box that can do a bigger explosion of it to zap everybody away in that entire universe. So because we know in the film it's down below the subway downtown of where Deadpool lives at, around those apartments. So I get that, but they didn't really explain what made them want to put her in the void, because again, X-23 went away no matter what. That's the whole point. So There, and then one thing I read too, that she might be more distance of the future from the movie Logan. So maybe she went back in time to stop that. And that could be a possibility too, but that still doesn't really make sense to put her in the void if you could just keep her in her timeline, sacred timeline basically, and just get rid of it anyway, like they were trying to do. But that's the only thing that didn't make sense. But I was just glad in that moment in time watching it, just to see her and that actress, to have her shine. Like, this is a really full circle moment, because within this film too, her and Wolverine had a heart to heart moment, and even though she knows that's not the Wolverine, that's not the Logan from her timeline, you can tell that she really obviously misses him, but she wanted to thank him just because that's the closest that she's gonna get to the actual Wolverine of her timeline. So she basically was just thanking him because that's what she wanted to say a long time ago, and maybe didn't have time because she was on the run. You know, the people were chasing after her and all those other kids. So, and that's how that film ended in that. So, here in this film, we get to see that moment, that opportunity. And yeah, it happened in the void. So, that doesn't affect the timeline of that particular universe, and it doesn't affect the MCU sacred timeline as well. So, it was in the safety zone or the danger zone of the void, right? So, that's what I thought that was really cool, and was cool because this was the moment where what she said to him, and I can't remember exactly quote for quote, but basically she let him know that the Wolverine in her universe, Logan, wasn't the right guy until he put on the suit. So that was the eye awakening, and obviously this leads up to a big team up too, right? This all led up to a team up, but she also made sure Wolverine got his head in the game because realistically, he's the more experienced person within this group that can lead a team and get the job done, because what they were about to do was battle Cassandra and all her goons, right? And the trick is too, they needed to get Juggernaut's helmet off his head, and which we learned that they just cut his whole head off. But fun fact, I discovered that's the guy who played the stunt double for Ryan Reynolds in Nice Guy. I think that's the name of it. It's where they're in the video game world on PC. But that, I thought that was pretty cool. But when they get to that battle, Wolverine's like, you guys, we're not gonna make it. You know that, right? And they're like, yeah, we're just here for our ending, to have our ending. And they've been waiting for this moment. This is like the Fox 21st Century Avengers team up in the sense. And again, this happened in the void. So this doesn't affect the timeline of the MCU. This doesn't affect the Logan universe, as they calling it now. I hear some people calling that. And they also doesn't affect Deadpool 1 and 2, which, Deadpool destroys it in his own way. But even that doesn't affect it in the bad way, as for the viewers to have a good understanding of what the timeline is. So, again, what they did in The Void was perfect. Like, we got to relive a moment that a long time ago people hoped to see something like this, and here it was. So, and it has a lot of questions, and I'm sure within the next Marvel films and Disney Plus shows that they'll get more in a deeper depth to about what's an anchor and where are these characters at in the source. So, was they battling? Wolverine became the heroic Wolverine X-Men. The one that you would see in the cartoons. The ones you saw on the 97. X-Men 97 on Disney Plus. This is the comic book Wolverine, where and also this is a little bit of a throwback to the past X-Men movies and Wolverine Origins and Logan, where Wolverine wasn't gonna kill Cassandra. He did the most thing that you would see in an X-Men movie, the heroic way, the speech, because he said, man, if Charles Xavier was here, he would do everything he can to find you and give you a home. You know, he would do whatever he needed to do to get you out of here because he cares about you and he sees the good in everybody, right? And he's explaining like, I'm not going to kill you. And he told Deadpool to let her go, and he goes, what? He's like, just do it. Take the helmet off, because they put the Juggernaut helmet on her and it doesn't work. They can't get out without her helping. But luckily Pyro shot her. And before everybody freak out, what I mean by luckily, we all knew that she can get stabbed and she don't die. Like, she heals up. Or you can't tell because she has an illusion of where her actual body is too. That something like that. So if she can take a stab from Wolverine's claw, she can take a bullet by Pyro. And what I thought was really cool, because throughout this movie, it's been a lot of comedy, a lot of blood, assassinating everybody. This is the most X-Men moment in this whole film. And just Wolverine deciding not to stab, shank, rip some blood out, not to kill. He just was a superhero in this moment. And it gives you that old reminding that, you know, X-Men do the superhero thing. They do the heroic and the right thing. And the right thing is not to kill. So that was really cool. And that was one of my favorite scenes throughout that film. Because now Cassandra has been revealed that there is hope for her, that she can change. But there's a part of her that doesn't want to change because maybe she's scared and this is all she knows. Because, yeah, she still does her evil, wicked deed where she put her fingers in your brain, your skull, and she can literally crush their brain cells and their whole brain and kill them right there. But she says, hey, you know what? I owe you guys, so here you go. And she mentions there was this Doctor Strange that was in this void, and she killed him, and wore his skin as a suit. That's what she said, I believe. And I have a theory that I'm going to save later, but I don't think it's the MCU Doctor Strange. But I know I have a theory of what they would do with that if they're going to reveal like a backstory to that, like a flashback scene in a future project. But I'll save that after the end of this. So another thing that happened is she has that that little trinket that they put on their fingers. It's like a brass knuckles, but she does the spin, opens a portal, and they go back to Deadpool's main universe, main Earth. And this is where it gets more, this is where now it's just fun. Because now it's Wolverine and Deadpool versus all the variants Deadpools. And what a battle that was. It was fun watching it. It was fun watching Nicepool get killed because Deadpool wanted to keep Dogpool. It was funny that they mentioned the proposal and he broke the fourth wall, nice pull, who did that. And Deadpool, you know, reminding us that's not what he actually does when he breaks the fourth wall, but it seems like that in the sense. But that was just funny. But again, we saw Lady Pool, who I found out that it was actually voiced by his wife, and his two kids got to be a Deadpool variant. I think the oldest one was Kid Pool, his oldest daughter, and I believe, I don't know if it's a boy or a girl, I can't remember, but his youngest child played Baby Deadpool. So I thought that was cool. And I also loved the bus scene. That was funny. Like Deadpool like tripped while he's trying to jump out the back and made a joke about it. So I thought that was cool because it's an ongoing gag about the superhero landing. And Deadpool does the most realistic thing when you try to do the quote unquote superhero landing. And it was just funny. So I like that. I'm really glad that they're keeping that joke going on. And it seems like that's going to be a joke that's going to live within the MCU now. So that's awesome. And then after that battle, and it's all been stopped by Peter, who becomes Peter Pool, which is hilarious. I guess in every universe, every variant of Deadpool has a Peter in their lives. So very funny. Then we get to the last final serious battle where they find the TVA, but Cassandra's already started it. And she went down there and she has these like, I don't know, wires. I can't explain it. But Mr. Paradox explains that, hey, if you guys try to stop this, it can kill you, and they risked it. And it was a heartfelt moment. At first it was going to be Wolverine, but then Deadpool tricks him and he does the sacrifice. But as Deadpool's trying to reach two different wires of this TVA magical multiverse, stuff, Wolverine breaks the door and gets in, and then they have the funny scene where Wolverine's like top of his suit gets ripped and you see his nice abs, and Deadpool's even checking him out. And it was just funny. But at the end, they save the day. Peter Pool is going to hook up with B-15, it looks like. Mr. Paradox gets in trouble and arrested. And they save the day, and the whole universe is good. And we had a nice ending where we see Deadpool and all the other familiar faces, and X-23 having dinner. B-15 also send everybody back to their main universe, and it was just, it had a good ending, and it looked like they're not in the MCU, but they're part of it, but they're not in that universe, because at the end of the day, this movie reminds us that he stayed for Vanessa. And I think that was the most important. He's still in love with her. So, but that's how it ended. Now, let's get into some discussions of how I feel about this film. I came across some reviews from I can't remember, so I'm not going to say what source, but I seen a review where it said it sacrificed the heart feel for the jokes, and I disagree with that. I thought it was well balanced out with it. I thought it made totally sense because Deadpool and Wolverine, they're not the typical characters, superhero characters that just share their feelings. They have a different way. And I said that earlier on this too. Deadpool deals with his problems, his feelings through jokes and sarcasm. And Wolverine is a guy that doesn't like to talk about his feelings. He'd rather get drunk. But it did show a lot of heart because, again, when I talked about where the educational wish scene, and he said all those mean things about Deadpool, and Deadpool took that to heart. It's because that's where the heart's at. That's that heart-filled moment. Or when Cassandra got in Wolverine's head and he talked about the the story of how all the X-Men were killed and the mutants were killed. Same thing with X-23. That was the heart moment. You know, this is the Wolverine that failed to save his universe, his X-Men, the mutant race. It's all on him. And he didn't know how to forgive himself. He didn't know how to move forward with this and how to be better. He was very guilty. He was in grief. Deadpool just felt left out. He doesn't feel in place. And that's what's important, to remember what they're going through and what problems and issues they're dealing with. You know, Deadpool is just somebody who just can't see himself having everything and having a happy life. That's why he kind of pushed his girl away a little bit like that. Same thing with Logan, man. He goes to alcohol because he just felt like he was unresponsible, and he's trying to be more responsible. He's trying to be more heroic, the way the X-Men would want him to be, that always encouraged him to be. And so that was an important thing. So, no, I disagree with that. Like, it had heart, and it had a lot of jokes. And there's nothing wrong with having both if it's told well. And I also just want to point out is the way they treated Deadpool and Wolverine. As Marvel Studio treated these particular characters, I like that. I really enjoyed how they kept Deadpool as he is, but gave us more of a different view of Deadpool. And maybe that's what we needed. And I think it fits really well in the MCU. Same thing with Wolverine. They gave us everything we all desired to see, a live-action Wolverine with Hugh Jackman playing that character. I think that's just really neat. And as far as them being the MCU now, I don't know where they go, but I believe that Secret Wars is the destination we'll get to the next time we see these two particular characters. And the reason why I believe that is because if you haven't heard the news yet, Robert Downey Jr. is playing Doctor Doom. So I feel like Secret Wars, the Avengers Secret Wars movie, is going to be the one where we see those two characters again. I don't know about any other one. Like, I don't see them in Captain America Brave New World. I don't see them in the Fantastic Four. I don't see them in, like, Spider-Man 4 because of Sony, but just story-wise too. And I also just don't see them on any other Disney Plus series of Marvel. I just don't see it. I think the Avengers Avengers Doomsday, that's 50-50. But Avengers Secret War, I think that's 100% guarantee we'll see Deadpool and Wolverine for that. So to me, I think where they're at, that's why I think they kept them on Earth 1005, because I think it's better to keep him there than have him in the main MCU sacred timeline. Because I think there's a lot. Like, if you remember, they showed in the TVA when Deadpool first met Mr. Paradox, we saw that clip of Loki, or not Loki, but Thor and Deadpool having a moment that kind of resembles Loki and Thor in the second Thor film, where he pretended he died, faked his death basically. And I think there's something there for that. I think Thor and Deadpool, that's an interesting choice, but I think there's a big payoff to that. I don't exactly know what. but I believe that Deadpool will meet Thor first. Actually, no, I changed my mind. I actually believe Deadpool will meet Loki first and then Thor. That's what I think. I think for Deadpool to really get in the MCU like that, I think the TVA is gonna let Loki decide that because they do things differently. Now, I the post credit scene, there's nothing really much to say about it. It was just funny that the Human Torch did say that, and it's just really cool to see Chris Evans just say random, silly, funny things like that in general. I don't know if Deadpool edited it or not. People say that video camera and that cage ball that they were locked in looked like Kevin from She-Hulk. I don't know if if Deadpool would do that, but I just say from a guess, I would say the Human Torch really did say that, and he really meant that because obviously he he's that's something I can see the Human Torch say because of his personality throughout comic books, live action, and this. So I'm not surprised if Human Torch really said that. And also, I just want to say I think it's good to keep it like that because now they don't have to commit to Deadpool so much, and they don't have to give us an expectation. We don't have an expectation on them because, like any other Marvel movie, they in the post credit scene or mid credit scene, end credit scene, whatever you call it, they give you a sneak peek in their own way of who's next, what's next. Like it's always a character from another movie that shows up. So they didn't do that, and I think that's a smart way and that's a safe route to take. So not mad about that. Now I have some theories. So let's start with theory number one. We see that Wanda statue in the void at the hideout, right? I have a theory that Wanda was in the void, the MCU Wanda. But I believe that she escaped. I think she's so powerful that she didn't need to meet Cassandra, and I think she just got out. Like, I don't know how the TVA got her in there, but they got her in there. I mean, obviously they zapped her, but for somebody just to get that close to her without any superhero powers like that, like Doctor Strange or anything like that, I mean, that's a pretty lucky shot. And I also believe that maybe she purposely went in the void. Because maybe she was, obviously, I think she's looking for her two boys, her kids. And they never really spoke upon it, but I believe she's traveling through the multiverse. And I believe she's wanted by the TVA. And I think everybody went out and they thought they got her and she escaped. Like she got out of prison or whatever. I think she's just that powerful. Because she is a witch, so makes sense. And a mutant. You can officially now say Wanda is a mutant. And for her to meet like Gambit and X-23, those are mutants. You know, and if she even interacted with Cassandra, that's another mutant. And maybe they did meet. Maybe they do like each other. I don't know. But I believe that Elizabeth Olsen plays is Wanda from the MCU. My theory number two, X-Men versus the Avengers. Now, do you remember in Deadpool and Wolverine in the scene where they're at the mom and pop shop cafe diner type, and Deadpool's mentioning his version of Wolverine and how he tried to be in the X-Men and tried to be in the Avengers. Well, this Wolverine said, "Fuck the Avengers." I have a theory that I believe, if you remember, they explained that a group of non-mutants, not humans without mutant powers, assassinated, took out, destroyed all the mutants and the X-Men, some type of special task force. I, in theory, believe that the Avengers were in on it. I have in theory that this is the universe where, imagine in Captain America Civil War, we see in that film that some people in the Avengers, because of the action that Wanda did and the Hulk, where some people in the Avengers were like, yeah, we should sign these contracts and work for the government. And when the government in the United States decides when we should go out and be the heroes and save the day, they'll decide. But some people like Captain America were like, no, I'm not going to do that, because what if we disagree? Where the government doesn't think this is a job for the Avengers, but it is a job for the Avengers type thing, right? And if you watch the new Captain America Brave New World trailer, we see that that's the same conversation that General Ross is having with Sam Wilson in that trailer. So I believe that in this universe, all the Avengers sided with the United States of America's government and sided with General Ross, and they took out the mutants. I believe Captain America and Iron Man both were like, yeah, let's do it. Because the way he said it, obviously, you just don't drop the F-bomb on the Avengers like that. But I think, personally, that when Wolverine meets the Avengers, I think it's going to be a fight. Because I believe in theory that the Avengers were in on it. So, keep that in thought. And then my last theory, number 3, the TVA and Secret Wars. So here's the theory. So we know that Mr. Paradox is in a different department in the TVA, but he's the first group of the department that does not agree on the new rules of handling the timeline by just letting them naturally die, not get involved. And he just disagrees. So I have a theory that the TVA are going to be the main villains or antagonists in Marvel's Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars. That's what I believe. I think the TVA are going to be a big part of that, because it looks like not everybody in the TVA agrees with the new rules and change of the ways the TVA used to. Maybe they like the way that they were portrayed in season 1 Loki. So that's just a thought. That's what I think. It's going to be a big major thing. So, and here's the thing. Here's a prediction too, to back that theory up. I bet you when we get to the Fantastic Four movie with Pedro Pascal, I bet you that's where we'll see the TVA again. I believe that B-15 is going to be the one that brings the Fantastic Four into Earth 616, the main MCU timeline, aka the Sacred Timeline. So that's when the next time. I don't think you won't see them in the other ones, like Captain America Brave New World. I definitely don't think you'll see them in the next Spider-Man movie. And you probably won't see them in the Blade movie with Marshall Ali And I definitely don't think you'll see him in any other Disney Plus specials like Daredevil Born Again, for example. I don't think you'll see the TVA. And just to go further, to really believe in this one, that I truly believe this theory, that I believe that in Avengers Doomsday, he's taking out King, and he's going to run the TVA. That's what I think. He's going to destroy it and rebuild the whole thing. That's how I in theory I believe that's going to be a big part for the TVA. So, but again, as I said in my non-spoiler, if I had this give this a 1 out of 10, I'm giving it a 10. What a great Marvel Studio film with these two characters. I loved it. I had fun. I cannot wait to watch this for the third time, and of course I'm going to wait till it's on Disney Plus. But what a great film. Loved it. I hope you guys enjoy this review. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Great Talking Entertainment Official channel. Subscribe. Hit that notification button so you can always be updated with all my latest content. Thank you guys, and peace out.